Procrastination versus self-doubt, the killers of dreams. There was a time in my life when every idea I had, every dream I nurtured, stayed just that, a dream. I told myself I will start tomorrow, next week, next year. But tomorrow never came. And when I did muster the courage to start, a voice in my head whispered, "Are you even good enough? What if you fail?" Procrastination and self-doubt, two silent assassins that stalk the ambitious, waiting for the right moment to strike. I remember when I wanted to start my first major project. I had the vision, the resources, and even the time, but somehow I convinced myself that I needed just a little bit more preparation, one more article to read, one more tutorial to watch, one more hour to rest before I began. And just like that, days became weeks, weeks became months, and before I knew it, the idea faded into the background, overtaken by new distractions and responsibilities. But when I finally did start, another piece emerged: self-doubt. Every step forward felt like I had made a mistake. I questioned my ability, my worth, my legitimacy. The more I doubted, the more my progress became slower, until I found myself back in the loop of hesitation and delay. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "Character is destiny." I have often wondered how much of my struggle is shaped by my nature. I have read Geminis are known for their curiosity, but also lack a tendency to easily focus, and therefore they get distracted easily. I don't know if I believe in zodiac signs, but I do know this: distraction has been a constant battle in my life. Maybe it's something innate, or maybe it's just an excuse I have clung to. Plato spoke of the inner conflict between rational thought and desire, and I see it in myself every day. The battle between what I want to achieve and the endless temptations that pull me away. Maybe procrastination is not just a habit, but a deeply ingrained part of human nature, one that requires conscious effort to overcome. I have often reflected on the words of Seneca: "We suffer more often in imagination than in our reality." How many times have I built mountains in my head that turned out to be nothing but shadows? How much of my procrastination is simply a fear that never materializes? How often have self-doubt convinced me of obstacles that don't exist? Perhaps the cruelest irony is that both procrastination and self-doubt stem from the same root: fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not meeting the expectations that I have set for myself. But what is failure, really? Is it the act of trying and failing short? Or is it the act of never trying at all? I have asked myself these questions many times. There were moments when I told myself that avoiding something altogether was better than trying and exposing my inadequacies. But looking back, I wonder, was I ever really protecting myself, or was I just sabotaging my own potential? Time does not wait for us to decide. The hours I have wasted debating my own worth are hours I could have spent proving it. I have convinced myself that tomorrow holds the perfect opportunity, that with a little bit more confidence, a little more knowledge, I will finally be ready. But readiness is an illusion, one that has kept me forever on the edge of action, never truly stepping forward. Over the past days, I have sat down and wondered, which of these two bits is more dangerous? The habit of endless postponing, or the internal voice that convinces me that I am not enough? Is it worse to never start, or to begin but never believe in myself enough to finish? Perhaps the true tragedy is not in choosing one over the other, but in allowing them to work together, paralyzing me into eternal hesitation. And so I ask, how many dreams have I buried under the weight of these two shadows? And more importantly, how many more will I allow to slip away? But why do I keep delaying? Why do so many of us fall into this cycle of hesitation? Procrastination isn't just laziness. It's an avoidance mechanism. A shield we put up when faced with uncertainty, discomfort, or fear. I have often told myself that I was simply waiting for the right time, that tomorrow will be better, that I will just need one more day to prepare. But the truth is, there is no perfect time, only the illusion of one. I once read a study that explored how our brains tend to prioritize short-term relief over long-term reward. It explained why we convince ourselves that delaying a difficult task is justified. Our brain seeks to avoid discomfort, even at the cost of our future selves. And I see it in myself all the time. The moment I sit down to begin something important, my mind drifts to distractions. A video to watch, a quick scroll through my phone, even chores that suddenly seem urgent. Anything but the thing I know I should be doing. But what's strange is that I know the cause of procrastination. I know the stress of last-minute panic, the regret of wasted time, the pressure of tasks piling up, and yet I still do it. It's almost as if I am two people, the one who wants to accomplish things and the one who rather delay them. Socrates once spoke of acrasia, a state of acting against one's better judgment, knowing what I should do and yet failing to do it. That contradiction has defined so many of my struggles, and maybe that's the worst part. Knowing that I am my own obstacle. I've tried to rationalize my delays, convincing myself that waiting would bring clarity, that when the moment is right, I will just know. But looking back, has that moment ever truly arrived? When has hesitation ever led to sudden confidence? I remember once staring at a blank page for hours, waiting for inspiration to strike. The longer I waited, the heavier the task felt. The philosopher William James once said, "Nothing is so fatiguing as the eternal hanging on of an uncompleted task." And I have felt that fatigue deeply. The weight of unfinished goals, the mental exhaustion of carrying tasks in my mind without acting on them. Yet, instead of starting, I find myself waiting for certainty, for confidence, for the perfect conditions that seem to never arrive. Maybe it's because starting makes it real. The moment I put my thought into action, they are no longer just dreams. They become something tangible, something that can be judged, critiqued, or worse, something that can fail. I think about all the moments I've spent procrastinating, not because I am lazy, but because I was scared. The fear of starting was greater than the discomfort of delay. But time is indifferent to hesitation. If it moves forward, whether I act or not. I have delayed so many things in life because I wasn't sure I was ready. But the question is, was I really waiting to be ready? Or was I just afraid to begin? But even when I managed to break free from procrastination, I find myself facing another enemy, one that is more quieter, but just as destructive. Self-doubt. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't barge in like procrastination, distracting me with temporary pleasures. Instead, it lingers in the background, whispering, questioning, making me hesitate, just enough to falter. It's that voice that asks, "Are you sure you can do this?" It turns simple tasks into overwhelming challenges, making me second-guess every decision. and fills my mind with reason why I am not good enough. I once read about the imposter syndrome phenomenon, where even the most accomplished people secretly feel like frauds. They fear that at any moment, someone will expose them as not being as capable as they seem. I used to think self-doubt was something only beginners faced, that as I gain more experience, it will fade. But the more I learn, the more I realize how much more I don't know. And then that realizations make self-doubt grow even stronger. I can't count the number of times I have had an idea, something I was excited about, something I wanted to create, only to talk myself out of it. Not because I didn't have the ability, but because I convinced myself that someone else could do it better than me. I've abandoned projects halfway, deleted works that wasn't good enough, hesitated to share my thoughts because I assumed they weren't valuable. And the worst part, no one told me I wasn't capable. No one stood in my way, except me. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." If that's true, then what does that mean when we repeatedly doubt ourselves? If I tell myself often enough that I am not good enough, does that belief become reality? Does self-doubt shape me into something or someone who never reaches their potential simply because they were too afraid to try? And maybe that's the most dangerous thing about self-doubt. It doesn't just stop me from starting. It makes me question everything. Even when I am already in motion, it erodes confidence slowly, like water against a stone, until I no longer trust my own abilities. I once heard a story about an experiment where researchers gave people a simple puzzle to solve. Some of the participants were subtly told beforehand that the puzzle was extremely difficult, while others were told it was easy. The result was fascinating. Those who believed the puzzle was too hard gave up quickly, while those who thought it was easy kept going, even when they struggled. The only difference was belief. I wonder how many times I have done the same to myself. How many times I have decided something was too difficult before I even tried. How many times I have quit, not because I lacked the ability, but because I lacked belief. Self-doubt and procrastination work together in the cruelest way possible. One tells me that I am not ready. The other convinces me that I will never be. But I have to ask myself, how much more of my self-doubt is real? And how much more of it is just fear disguised as logic? And if I never challenge that voice, how many things will I leave undone? Not because I couldn't do them, but because I convinced myself I couldn't. Perhaps the most dangerous thing is not procrastination or self-doubt alone, but how they fit into each other, trapping me in a cycle that feels impossible to break out of. At first, I delay because I tell myself, the timing isn't right. I need more preparation, more knowledge, more confidence. But the longer I wait, the more my self-doubt grows. Why haven't I started yet? Maybe because I am not ready. Maybe because I will be ready someday. And the more I doubt, the easier it becomes for me to procrastinate again. One reinforces the other. And before I know it, days turn into weeks, and weeks turns into months, and finally months turns into lost opportunities. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in our imagination than in the reality." I felt that truly deeply. How many times have I hesitated? Not because I failed, but because I imagined failure so vividly that I felt it was real. I have let fear convince me that Inaction is safer than trying and failing short. But in doing so, I have suffered the worst kind of failure, the kind that comes from never trying at all. I think back to moments where hesitation became a long-term streak. The projects I have abandoned, the ideas I let fade away, the opportunities I ignored until they disappeared. Not because I lacked the ability, but because I let doubt convince me that taking the first step was pointless. Plato spoke of the inner war between rational thoughts and desires, the part of me that knows what I should do, and the part that finds comfort in avoiding it. But if I let hesitation win every battle, what kind of life am I shaping for myself? A life of caution? A life of waiting? Or a life where my dreams remain just that, dreams? And so I ask myself again, if neither procrastination nor self-doubt has ever led me closer to where I want to be, why do I keep letting them hold me back? If neither procrastination nor self-doubt has ever led me closer to where I want to be, why do I keep letting them hold me back? The cause of hesitation is not always immediate. It creeps in quietly, disguised as harmless delays, small moments of uncertainties. But over time, those moments add up until I look back and realize how much I have lost. Opportunities that once seemed within reach are now distant memories, not because I failed, but because I never even tried. Avoiding failure is not the same as achieving success. I used to believe that by not taking risks, I was protecting myself, but in reality, I was only ensuring that nothing ever changed. The dreams I postponed didn't wait for me. The chances I ignored didn't come back. The world moved on, and I was left standing still. And so, I wonder, how many versions of myself have I abandoned? How many lives could I have lived if I had just taken the first step? But if inaction has stolen so much from me, then the question is, how do I take it back? How do I break free from the grip of procrastination and self-doubt? The answer, I've come to realize, isn't in waiting for the perfect moment. It's in starting before I feel ready. Readiness is an illusion, a mirage that keeps moving further away the closer I get. I have wasted years trying to reach a point where I felt confident enough, prepared enough. But that moment never came. Instead, I had to learn to move forward despite the fear, despite the uncertainty. One strategy that has helped me over the years is the 5-minute rule. If a task feels overwhelming, I commit to doing it for just 5 minutes. Often, those 5 minutes turns into an hour, sometimes even longer. But even if it didn't, I still managed to make some progress. Small wins build momentum, and momentum is what pulls us out of stagnation. Self-doubt, on the other hand, requires a different approach. I have learned to reframe failure not as proof of inadequacy, but as evidence of effort. The philosopher Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. I remind myself that every mistake is a step forward, every misstep a lesson learned. If I wait until I am perfect, I will never begin. And so, the solution isn't to wait until the fear disappears, it's to move forward in spite of it, because in the end, the cost of doing nothing will always be greater than the cost of trying and failing short. So, after all this reflection, which is the greater enemy? Procrastination or self-doubt? If I had to choose, I would say there are two sides of the same coin. Procrastination steals time, and self-doubt steals belief. One convinces me that I have endless tomorrows, while the other tells me that if I try, I will never be enough. But together, they create the perfect trap, one that has kept me from becoming the person I know I could be. The truth is, I will never fully silence these voices. There will always be hesitation, always be doubt. But the difference now is that I understand they do not have to dictate my actions. I don't have to wait for confidence to begin. I don't have to wait for the perfect time. The only real solution is to start today, right now, with whatever I have. So I ask you, how many dreams have you let slip away because of this too? How many moments have you lost, waiting for yourself to feel ready? Let's break the cycle. Let's move forward, even if it's just one small step. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. Like this video if you found it helpful, and share your thoughts in the comment section. Have procrastination and self-doubt ever hold you back? What have they cost you? I would love to hear your thoughts.